Welcome back to Enigmatic Echoez, where folklore, urban legends, and internet nightmares collide. Tonight's story feels different, because unlike ancient legends whispered around campfires, this one spread through computer screens, chain emails, forums, late-night internet rabbit holes, back when opening a cursed image online felt genuinely possible. And honestly, early internet horror hits differently. Everyone had slow computers, dimly lit rooms, and just enough technological confusion to believe demons might actually travel through dial-up. Tonight, we're talking about The Hands Resist Him, a real painting created in 1972 by artist Bill Stoneham, and depending on who you ask, is either a surrealist self-portrait filled with symbolism, or one of the most haunted paintings ever shared online. So dim the lights, don't look too closely at anything hanging on your walls, and let's step into one of the internet's earliest viral nightmares. Even if you know absolutely nothing about the legend, the painting is unsettling immediately. It doesn't scream horror, it whispers it. The image shows a young boy standing beside a strange doll-like girl. Behind them, a glass-paneled door, and pressed against the glass are dozens of human hands. Not bodies, not faces, just hands. Like people trapped behind another reality. The boy looks tense, almost exhausted. The doll looks emotionless, artificial, and the atmosphere feels deeply wrong. Not violent, not dramatic, just emotionally cold. Like stepping into a room where something terrible already happened. The title somehow makes it worse. The Hands Resist Him. Who is him? The boy? The artist? Someone else entirely? And what exactly are the hands resisting? The question became the foundation of the legend, because once people started projecting meaning onto an image, fear takes over quickly, and with this painting, fear spread everywhere. Now, unlike many cursed object stories, we actually know where the painting came from. Artist Bill Stoneham explained that the boy in the painting is based on a childhood photograph of himself. The doorway behind him represents the barrier between the waking world and the world of dreams. The doll, according to Stoneham, isn't actually a little girl. It's a guide, a companion meant to lead the boy beyond the doorway. And the hands? They represent alternate possibilities, other lives, other realities. Now, personally, that explanation somehow makes the painting even more disturbing, because suddenly this isn't just creepy artwork, it's existential horror. It's the feeling that there are things just outside reality, pressing against the glass, trying to reach through. And whether Stoneham intended it or not, the painting taps into something deeply primal. Humans are naturally disturbed by things that appear almost human, but not fully human. That's what psychologists call the uncanny valley. And this painting lives there permanently, especially the doll, the eyes, the expression, the stiff posture. It feels close enough to life to trigger recognition, but wrong enough to trigger fear, and that's before the curse rumors even begin. Now, according to the legend, the painting's original gallery owner died unexpectedly after displaying it. Then, allegedly, an art critic connected to the exhibition also died not long after. Now, whether these events were truly connected to the painting is another story entirely. But urban legends thrive on coincidence, especially tragic coincidence, and eventually, the painting reportedly ended up with actor John Marley. You may recognize Marley as Jack Woltz in The Godfather, the Hollywood producer who wakes up next to the infamous Horsehead, which honestly does not make the story feel less cursed. According to the legend, Marley owned the painting for a period of time before later selling it. And that detail matters, because many internet retellings imply that everyone who possessed the painting died while still owning it. But Marley reportedly sold the artwork before his death in 1984. So the timeline becomes far less supernatural than online stories usually suggest. But that's important with this legend, because over time, facts blurred together with creepypasta. Rumors became history, speculations became evidence, and eventually, the story became larger than the truth itself. Then for years, the painting disappeared completely, until the internet discovered it again. And that's when everything exploded. In the year 2000, a California couple posted the painting for sale on eBay. And this is the moment the legend transformed from obscure art rumor into internet mythology. Because the listing didn't just sell a painting, it sold fear. According to the sellers, they discovered the artwork embedded near an old brewery. At first, they thought it was just strange vintage art. Then things supposedly changed after bringing it home. Their young daughter allegedly claimed the figures inside the painting moved during the night. She said the doll and the boy argued with each other. Sometimes, the boy supposedly disappeared from the image entirely. Then the parents installed a motion-triggering camera, and according to the listing, the camera repeatedly activated overnight. The attached photos supposedly showed the boy climbing out of the painting. Now let me just say this. Early 2000s paranormal internet culture was absolute chaos. People saw one blurry image and immediately decided portals of hell had Wi-Fi access. No hesitation, no skepticism, just, yep, haunted, JPEG, completely reasonable. But the listing became more intense. The sellers warned viewers not to bid if they suffered from stress-related illnesses. Some people allegedly experienced nausea, chest tightness, anxiety, nightmares, simply from viewing the image online. And suddenly, thousands of people were visiting the listing, not to buy the painting, just to stare at it, which somehow made the entire thing more disturbing, because now the curse wasn't tied to a physical object anymore. It was attached to the image itself, meaning, theoretically, anyone could experience it, even through a screen, late at night, alone, with all the lights off except the glow of a computer monitor. Now, The Hands Resist Him became one of the earliest viral paranormal stories online. Forums exploded with reactions, people shared the listings across message boards and email chains. Some viewers claimed they felt physically ill after seeing the image. Others reported panic attacks, nightmares, sleep paralysis. One recurring detail appeared constantly. People felt watched. And psychologically, there's a reason this image affects people so strongly. Human brains are extremely sensitive to faces, especially eye contact, especially distorted eye contact. The doll's stare triggers discomfort instantly. So do the hands behind the glass. Our brains desperately try to make sense of what we're seeing, but the image never fully resolves emotionally, and unresolved fear lingers. But paranormal believers offered another explanation entirely. They believed the painting carried energy, or attachment, or perhaps acted as some kind of doorway. And throughout history, many cultures believe objects like mirrors, portraits, photographs could trap or channel spiritual presence. So, to believers, The Hands Resist Him wasn't simply unsettling art. It was active, aware, watching. And that idea terrified people because it transformed a painting into something alive. Now, to be clear, none of these encounters are verified, but they became deeply tied to the legend itself. One viewer claimed they printed the image from their computer, only for the printout to repeatedly fall off the wall. Another person claimed their dog growled at it uncontrollably. Others described cats refusing to enter rooms where the image was displayed. And honestly, if your cat suddenly refuses to enter a room, that room now belongs to the demons. I don't make the rules. Several people reported recurring nightmares involving children standing motionless, dark hallways, hands reaching through glass, figures appearing at bedroom doors. One especially famous story claimed a viewer stored the image on their computer, only for files to repeatedly corrupt afterward. Now realistically, that may have just been early 2000s computers functioning exactly as designed, which is to say, barely. But fear changes perception. Once people expect something sinister, ordinary events begin feeling supernatural. That's how urban legends survive, not necessarily through proof, but through emotional reinforcement. And this painting taps directly into several primal fears: lifeless dolls, distorted children, barriers between worlds, being watched, things moving when unobserved. It's almost perfectly engineered to disturb the human brain, whether intentionally or not. This is where the story truly splits though, because there are essentially two versions of the Hand Resists Him legend. Version 1, the paranormal story, In this interpretation, the painting is genuinely haunted. The hands behind the glass are trapped entities. The doll acts as some kind of gatekeeper, and the doorway represents a barrier between worlds. Some believers claim the longer someone owns the painting, the stranger things become. The figure allegedly changed positions, expressions shift, the atmosphere in rooms changes. Some versions even claim the boy appears to age over time. Now, is there evidence? Not really, but cursed object legends rarely survive because of evidence. They survive because they create possibility, and possibility is powerful, especially when paired with image this unsettling. Now, version 2, the psychological theory. The second explanation is grounded entirely in psychology, and honestly, it might be scarier. Because in this version, the haunting was never in the painting, it was in us. Think about what the eBay listing actually did. Before viewers even saw the image, they were warned. You may feel sick, you may experience fear, and strange things may happen. That creates expectation, and expectation changes perception. Psychologists call this the nocebo effect, the opposite of placebo. If people believe something harmful will affect them, their body can produce real symptoms, real anxiety, real physical reactions. So, in this interpretation, the hands resist him became one massive internet-wide psychological experiment. Fear spreading from person to person, not because the painting was cursed, but because human beings are deeply vulnerable to suggestion, especially collective suggestion. And honestly, that says something terrifying about the internet itself. Sometimes the real haunting is mass hysteria. Now today, the painting is associated with Perception Gallery in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where gallery director Kim Smith became one of the public figures most closely connected to the artwork after its viral rise online. And despite decades of rumors, nothing conclusively supernatural has ever been proven. No verified paranormal footage, no scientifically documented hauntings, no confirmed curse, just stories, fear, and one unforgettable image. But maybe that's enough, because horror doesn't always require proof. Sometimes uncertainty alone is powerful enough. That tiny voice in your head saying, okay, but what if? Interestingly, Bill Stoneham later created sequel paintings featuring the same characters years later. The boy appears older, the imagery evolves, and somehow, that continuation makes the original painting even more unsettling, like the story never actually ended. What fascinates me about the hands resist him is that it evolved with the internet itself. Older legends spread through whispers, campfires, phone calls, but this story spread digitally. One image, one listing, one creepy description, and suddenly thousands of strangers were participating in the same fear simultaneously. That changed horror forever. People weren't just hearing about the object, they were looking directly at it, alone, late at night, on glowing computer screens. And maybe that's why the story still works decades later, not because the painting is truly cursed, but because it reminds us how fragile imagination really is. The human brain hates unresolved uncertainty. So when something feels emotionally wrong, we keep returning to it, trying to understand it, trying to explain it, trying to decide whether we're safe. And maybe that's what the hands represent after all. Fear itself, pressing against the glass, trying to get it. So, what do you think? Was the hands resist him genuinely haunted? Or was it one of the first viral internet horror stories powerful enough to make people haunt themselves? Either way, I can promise you this. If I walked into somebody's house and saw that painting hanging in the hallway, I'm leaving immediately. No explanation, no discussion. You can call me dramatic all you want, but I refuse to lose a spiritual battle to haunted home decor. Thank you for listening to Enigmatic Echoes. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, leave a review, share the episode, and follow Enigmatic Echoes on Instagram and YouTube. And until next time, keep your lights low and maybe don't stare too long at paintings after midnight. Good night.